Welcome to another episode of Lone Duck's Gun Dog Chronicles. I am excited to have a repeat guest. Only the closest of friends know him as the Pterodactyl. Blaine the Pterodactyl Tarnecki, the Boykin Whisperer of Hudson River Retrievers, is with us. I am actually sitting across the room from him and fired up to be here. Kevin is on the other line. We're training for the Master National. Fired up. I'd like to give a quick shout out to some of our sponsors. We've got Eukanuba, the food that fuels Hudson River Retrievers and the Lone Duck crew. Big thank you to Waypoint Outdoor Collective and Gunner Kennels. Little Quinn has been riding in style in her Gunner Kennel on this road trip here. Right now I'm in Georgia at Blaine's place, and Quinn is enjoying her Gunner Kennel, and I feel very comfortable and confident in her safety in that bad boy. All right, Kevin, let's get into the episode. Blaine, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you this evening?
Doing great. Excited about the opportunity, buddy. Been a fun week so far.
Oh, we've been busting our tail, man. And tonight's episode, we are talking about the grind. And Blaine called me. He was doing his dogs. I was doing mine, separate sides of the field. And he goes, I got it. Let's talk about the life of a dog trainer and pros and the cons and the behind the scenes and all the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs, the lows, what it's like to be a trainer. And I'm like, done, deal. I get so many questions on Instagram about being a trainer and people wanting to be a trainer and how we got started. And I'm like, this is going to be a good one. So Blaine, do me a favor, define the grind.
It's the lifestyle. It's more than just getting up and training some dogs and putting them up and going to bed. It's a lifestyle that affects your marriage, that affects your kids, that affects your home, that affects your hobbies. It's everything we do. We have to think about dogs. We have to think about where we're going next, and everything. It's our life at this point.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think the point that he hit was the lifestyle. It's kind of, if I had to equate it to something, it'd be like being a farmer. You're up before the sun's up, you go to bed, or you're done working when the sun goes down, and then there's still chores after that. It's day in, day out. These dogs depend on us, and it's a lifestyle. It's not as simple as we get to play with dogs all day. We're lucky that we get to play with dogs all day, but that's not what it's about. Talk to, every day you've got people here. Clients, friends, day trainers.
People sleeping on your couch.
Yep. Zing.
I hope you make him sleep outside, Blaine.
Got you there.
Yeah, he's more of an outdoor cat.
Nice. No, it's true. I mean, I'm sleeping on a blow-up mattress here in Blaine's house. I'm super fortunate in the hospitality, but at the end of the day, I'm here chasing a dream, and we do what we've got to do to do that. And then I've got my family, these people down here and anywhere we've traveled. I mean, Blaine goes all over the country as well, and the community that we have is so tight that we help each other. And so they open their home up to some Yankee, and I'm sleeping here in their home and eating dinner with their family and kids, and that's pretty special. So that would be a positive.
Yeah, and it happens to us all the time. That's why we're so willing to open our home up, because we know, I'm going to have a buddy in Virginia or a buddy in Maryland or a buddy in Texas or in Louisiana that's going to open his place up to me to train or if it's just simple stopping and airing dogs and not have to do it on the side of the road somewhere. And just, it's nice to have friends all over the country, and it is family, and we're tight knit.
That's right. So, it is really special and fun. We've had a really good week. But I guess the point I was trying to make before we jumped into making fun of me sleeping on couch was, or what point was I trying to make? Oh, you had people here all day long. And at home when I'm training, I've got people in and out all day long. And at, 5:00, they're like, all right, Bob, have a good one. And they get to go. Well, now I got to finish up the other dogs and go home and feed and air and clean and unpack food in a pallet and make phone calls the entire ride back. And there's so much behind the scenes to being a trainer and a business owner that I don't think people see, or being on the road at a hunt test, what we have to go through in a hotel. And then, yes, we lock our dogs up at night, but I'm still don't sleep well at a hotel thinking about them. And if I hear a dog bark, I pop out of bed and look out the window. I mean, these are things that people don't think about.
Well, and it's just the added time. I remember running one or two dogs at hunt test when I was just my own personal dogs, and you feed them, you let them run around the little grassy field behind the hotel for a few minutes, and you go into your room, you go to bed. Now you show up with a full trailer full of dogs, and the simple process of feeding and airing dogs and putting water in the box takes 2 to 3 hours. And so your buddies are out hanging out in the parking lot and having a good time and talking, and you're out till 9:30, 10 o'clock just feeding dogs, and you're ready to go to bed because you have to go to work the next morning, and you have to be, at your best.
That's a fantastic point, too, about being at your best. We've got the biggest event of our year coming up, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I'm mentally tired. I'm physically tired, and I at some point want to get a good night's sleep and try and catch up a little bit, or just eat a little bit healthier, or do something where it's like I feel mentally prepared, because the dogs are prepared. We're doing that all day, every day, but I've got to be on my A game too, because if I miss a whistle, if I miscalculate something that dog does, we could be out, and I've got to be sharp. We've got to be sharp.
And we have to be sharp, and part of the grind is not just the fact that we've got dogs running a great event starting this weekend. It's the fact that there's, 15 or 20 other dogs in my kennel that need to be trained. And so when we want to spend so much time on dogs on the Master Nationals, that's great. But those clients are no more important than the client that wants a good gun dog. And we still have that dog in the kennel, still have that dog on the trailer, and they still need to be worked. So it's not just, we're training a handful of dogs running a big event, but we've got, we trained 40-something dogs today and did multiple setups and multiple drills. And you don't just do that in 4 hours.
No, we don't. Was it yesterday? I can't. First of all, it's all a blur since I've been here. But I think it was yesterday we set the alarm and we were on the road at about 7:10, which down here in Georgia is still pitch black. It doesn't get light out. The sun doesn't start cresting until about 7:30. So at 7:10, we're on the road to our different training grounds a little further away than Blaine's property before the sun's up, so that we could pull into the field and have things rolling when that sun's up and get rolling, so that we could have that day jam-packed with work.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to get up early, because you can't just, even as the owner of the businesses, we still have responsibilities to let dogs out. It doesn't matter how many ribbons we get last weekend. We still got to, clean poop out of a kennel. We've still got to feed dogs. We've still got to load trailers. We still have to get ducks out. And all that process takes, a couple hours in the morning before you even get on the road and start having fun.
Yeah, exactly. So our estimated time was leaving at 7. So we get up at 5, air dogs, water dogs, let dogs run and wake up, get all the ducks unthawed, catch all the live ducks, make sure everybody's here, and we roll out and we hit a gas station, and somebody's got to fuel up a 4-wheeler or whatever, but we have everything timed out as best we can so that we can be in the field just before sunup. As that sun crests, we've got wingers and holding blinds and bird boys and women and live flyer station and everything's set up so that that first dog rolls when we've got enough light. And it's that kind of dedication, honestly, most days, not every day, but most days, in order to get our job done. And then we're not done at 6 o'clock. Everybody, when I used to work a 40-hour a week job, as soon as I clocked out at 5 p.m., my mind was off work and on to everything else. As soon as we quote unquote clock off at, let's say, 7:30 p.m., 8 p.m., I still have to make phone calls. I still have to, I don't know,
all kinds of stuff. I was just signing up for a hunt test.
Yeah.
I'm on my computer trying to get dogs into a hunt test, and then the internet stops in my house. So I'm trying to reload and re-enter dogs and make sure that the client's dogs are in, because they're depending on me to get them in and get them ready.
And that was 8:45 p.m. on a Tuesday. And that is the life of a dog trainer. It isn't all picking up birds and throwing fun bumpers and teaching dogs to swim. And that's the fun part. The not so fun part is it's 24/7. The minute you wake up, you're rolling. I might not eat lunch because I've got to take care of them, or I wait to have breakfast until all my dogs are taken care of, or wait to have dinner until all my dogs are taken care of.
What's breakfast and lunch?
No doubt. Yeah. We're usually eating something, and in 3 minutes we're rolling again. It's something to put food in your belly, but not to sit down and have a lunch.
Is there anything good
Blaine,
about it? My God, you guys are like two old ladies sitting there whining. You chose this life.
You're right, Kev. That's a good point. We have been showing the difficult parts because a lot of people message us like, hey, I want to be a pro dog trainer. And these are the things that people don't see until they do it.
Yeah.
And so one of my biggest advice, and I think, Blaine, you would completely agree with this. He's shaking his head no.
I agree.
Go work
I agree
somebody.
with Blaine.
All right, listen. Go work for someone. You need experience with many dogs, many different personalities, many different situations. Go apprentice and be mentored by someone and work it 6 days a week. Feel the grind. And if you still love it, then it's for you.
And I'll respond to Kevin's comment. We do sound like two old ladies here. And I've made comments about this in the past. I can't believe some dog trainers will complain about the life we have. I don't complain. I love it. I love every bit of it. It's just not exactly what everybody thinks. You get lots of comments from time to time. Oh, you're a dog trainer. That must be nice. You're just out playing with dogs during the day. And there's just more to it. I guess that's what we're talking about tonight. I know we got some good questions, that some posed through Instagram Live and some other, avenues, and we're going to answer some of those, but we're just, two guys shooting the breeze after, 9 or 10 days straight of, just going hard with lots of dogs and other trainers being here with a truckload of dog and just getting after it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Blaine, how many dogs you got running in Master National?
I've got 5.
Nice. Are they all client dogs or any personal?
I've got my old lab Gracie. She's running. She's 8. Going to be 8 coming up, and she's going after it and doing really, really good. All the dogs look really good. I think they're just kind of peaking at the right time, and hopefully the work's going to pay off. They just they're prepared. It's just a matter of everybody doing what they know to do, and the stars aligning and getting 6 good series and getting the plate.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm getting pretty jacked up thinking about it. It's exciting.
Blaine, will you do me a favor, and each dog that you have in, give me their name, a quick description of their dog, and, we're going to be doing this throughout Master National. I just want people to be able to follow along your journey. I think it'll be cool.
Yeah, no, that's real quick. Just the first one was my dog, Gracie. She's a lab, great dog. She was a free dog given to me 8 years ago that we were going to start up and turn into hunting dog and sell, and turned into my best friend, and sleeps on Bob's air mattress when he's here, and in his lap on the couch. Just a good dog, and just a great dog. Lover, sweet personality, and running really well for an 8-year-old dog, and doing good work.
So if you all have followed Instagram and Facebook, if you remember the chocolate lab that I had in training that just went home, Gino, Gracie is Gino's mother. So sorry to interrupt you, but go on.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, Gracie, we got a couple of her sons and daughters on the trailer right now, getting ready to run season and finished. But we've got Ryder. Well, let me go back. Bob just gave me a good idea. Creek is running Master Nationals. He's actually a son of Gracie as well, from her first litter to a buddy of ours dog named Tater. He's a black lab as well. Good little dog. He's HRCH Master Hunter, doing really good work, and owned by a buddy of mine who's also a trainer. He just doesn't run AKC much, so I run his dog for him in Master Test and got him qualified, and excited about having, the mother and son together. That's going to be really cool and special if they both get a plate. We got a dog named Ryder, a really nice chocolate lab. He's about 5-6 years old, been in training with me since he was a pup. Really looking sharp, just a really nice dog. Just compliant, runs well, and just looking good right now. We got Easy, another chocolate lab, little female, probably weighs about 40 pounds, and just really nice. Also a daughter of Tater, the same father as Creek, so that's pretty cool to see her out there. And actually, she is owned by a young man that works for me in the summer, Walker Dixon. So that's pretty cool. He throws birds for me all summer and cleans kennels and works his butt off. Moves in and just does an internship every summer, lives with us, and works hard, man. One of the hardest working young men I've ever seen. Good kid. And so that's his dog. And then we've got Buck Boykin, who's he's just a bad little dog. Has no idea he's a Boykin, thinks he's a lab, and thinks he weighs about 80 pounds, and owned by a very good client in Penn Sellers, who owns about 11 Boykins and 2 labs, and hoping for good things out of Buck. There's not been but 1 or 2 other Boykins ever to get a Master National plate at the Master Nationals, and so it's going to be exciting to see him go. He's just looking sharp, man. He's just clicking right now.
Very cool. So on our end, we've got Memphis, who is my dog. She is looking really good. She's looking really jacked up. Every day, and I love this about her, every day she comes out of the box ready to rip, and, like a racehorse, just ready, getting in the gates and ready to go. I'm hoping that doesn't bite us in the butt. I feel like if she can contain the excitement for 6 series, she'll be fine. She knows the work. She's honest. But if she can contain that excitement, we'll be all right. We've got Cruz, who I co-own with the Burwell family, who hosts us in Charleston. And Cruz is the mama to our puppies and an awesome little dog. She's been pretty darn good this pre-training. She's usually at a hunt test, she has 1 fumble and then is beautiful the rest of the test. So I'm hoping, if she's does what she normally does, that fumble isn't too big, and then we can just, roll with it. And then Ember, the Chesapeake Bay Retriever, who's maybe 2.5. Go ahead.
If that.
Yeah, Blaine was going to make a joke. He held back. I want to hear what he has to say. Say it.
Ember's a great dog. I can't wait to see Ember run. She has looked good the last few days. Proud of her.
Yeah, me too, man. So I'll give you even a little bit more background. So Ember's an awesome dog, but if you nitpick her, if you take instances to maybe teach and use a little bit of pressure or verbal pressure or what have you on a blind or whatever the case may be, if you nitpick her and say no, heel closer, or I don't know, something stupid, she'll get all weird and butt hurt. and then for like 3 or 4 days, she'll be out of sorts. And so I showed up down south, and she was a little butthurt. And we ran the first day, and I'm like, oh my God, we're in trouble. And then day 2, I'm like, oh my God, we're really in trouble. And then I kind of went back to how I normally train her, and I calmed myself down, not worrying about this weight of that pewter plate, Master National plate, and just said, you know what, I'm going to just train her like she knows what to do. Because she does. And we kind of got her out of it. And I bet the last, 3 days? I've been here almost a week. 3 days, she has been whap, 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 just stepping on marks, hitting water, doing the right decisions. Work ethic is back up, and it's just we're back in the groove. So I'm really hopeful that we can carry that into next week.
Yeah, and it's been cool to watch her. She has looked really good the last few days. And, Oliver Burnham here with his dogs that he's running, and it's fun to train with other professionals, and they're in the same flight with us. Evan Thames was here, and just a couple other people with 1 or 2 dogs, but we're all in the same flight to see their dogs train and get to know the owners more, and get to know the dogs, and then just be able to root for them. And it's not a competition. We're not trying to beat each other. We're all trying to get the same goal, and that's to pass 6 series and get a plate.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I want to jump in real quick. I think that's a really cool and interesting point to make that maybe not everybody fully understands, is that you're not kind of running against each other, so it isn't like Buck against Memphis or whatever, but that you're against the standard, and everybody's trying to compete and just be better than the standard. But so with that, Blaine, how many of these have you done? How many Master Nationals have you ran?
Just one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Boykins haven't run a lot. We specialize in Boykins for so long, and Boykins, they haven't been recognized at the AKC all that long, and there's only been a handful that have ever run it. And so we were we did HRC and did that game, and until recently when we started taking in more labs and more Boykins became AKC registered and started playing the master level game.
Okay.
It's new to us as well.
Okay. Well, so I was expecting you
just
to say
just because of the breed,
and
the fact that the breed wasn't running it. And there's still not a lot. I think there's 4 Boykins qualified out of almost 1,100 dogs going to the Master Nationals.
Holy crap!
And so it's a rare thing just to have one qualified and be there. And so only a couple have ever passed it. We did have one dog whose owner ran the dog in the Master National Amateur event this past year at Butte, Montana, and did get a pass, so that was pretty exciting. And he'll be at the Master National as well coming up, so that's pretty cool for us. But we haven't played this game much because of our breed and the fact that we ran HRC predominantly.
Well, but if you've done it before, you at least got one leg up on Bob. Is there any advice that you would have for him or for anybody else who might be, running their first go at this?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about the difference between it and the Grand, and as far as each venue's highest level and the pinnacle of their deal. And I think the Master Nationals is going to be tough, but it's it does like it is. The standard's the same as it is on the weekend test. The test's going to be harder. The judge is going to be a little bit more critical probably, but you get out there and you run your dogs like you do on a weekend test and prepare them for, tough tests and tough marks and tough lines, and, get out there and give it your best. It's grueling. It's 6 series. There's no telling what we're going to see. We'll find out, I guess, Saturday morning, but, get up there and run your dogs. You prepare your dogs and try not to be nervous and get up there and be cool and do the right thing. Like Bob said, timing and preparation and all that is the biggest part of it. We're going to show up and do what we know to do with the dogs and hopefully see great results.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Do we want to jump into some of the questions people had about the grind?
Yeah. So again, this episode is called The Grind, and it's all about the life of a dog trainer. And so around 7:30, 8 p.m., we were finally sitting down to dinner and cooking up some steaks. And so Blaine and I went on Instagram Live and said, hey, shoot us a question. And so the first question came from Brad Contrell.
Was he wondering how Blaine takes his steak? That's what I want to know.
Well, good question, Kevin.
That's down the line.
It's down the line.
Oh, really?
Did ask that.
Look at that. I love it.
Yeah,
okay.
Man.
All right, so Brad asked, as a pro, what is too many dogs? He realizes that money drives people, but when is enough enough? He also said that those ribeyes would taste better on Master National plates. So, Blaine, what is too many dogs, and how do you know what you can handle?
Great question, Brad. Gosh, too many dogs is what I've got now. I don't know. Man, that's a tough question. It really depends on what the goals are for the owners and you know, how old the dogs are. You know, all dogs, different ages, take different amount of time. Gosh, I want to say one trainer to 15 dogs is a great number. You know, sometimes we're stretched a little thin and have to do 20 dogs. But, 15 to 20 dogs is a nice number where you can get that done. Because if you're looking at, so many different dogs with diverse backgrounds and different goals, and you can't just set up one thing and run them all on that one setup and, that one drill. You're back and forth all day long. This morning we started out real early and did key work and force to pile and force fetch and obedience. Spent a couple hours doing that, and then we went over and set up a gun dog setup and ran out of Momar blinds and out of off dog stands and shooting guns over and blowing duck calls and simulating hunts and dogs honoring each other while we're hunting and stuff that had nothing to do with Master Nationals coming up. Then we ran a little marking drill with Master National dogs, and then we moved over to water and did a big setup on water. And you run water, and it takes 2, 3, 4 times as long as it does land. And so you just gotta figure out how much time do I have during the day? How much help do I have? If it's just one man having to set up wingers and reload wingers between every dog, you got to add in the amount of time it takes to do that. If you got 4 or 5 dogs in force fest, and then 4 or 5 starter dogs and 4 or 5 senior dogs and then a couple master dogs, you've got to break everything down differently for all the dogs. And for me, 15 to 20 dogs is a manageable amount that I can handle and give every dog the attention that they deserve and that they need to reach the goals of their owners.
I think that's the best answer. I remember starting out, and remember I had apprenticed and worked for somebody. His name is Rhett Riddle. He busts my chops that I don't say his name on here, so I'm just going to give him the old shout out. He's running Master National. I'm excited to catch up with him, Thursday night at the dinner. But anyway, when I worked for Rhett, I think I had 18 to 20 dogs that were young, 6 months to a year and change, and they were the gun dogs, junior hunters, up to T pattern. And then I also took care of the obedience dogs. So I was working 18 to 22 dogs, I would say.
And the difference is, and I can look at it from Rhett's perspective as someone that's got 2 other trainers working for me. I give one of my trainers a group of dogs that are all doing, primarily the same thing. So they can spend an entire day doing, what those dogs need, what that group of dogs need. And then I've got another trainer that's working another level of dogs. And then I'm going to try to work a certain level of dog. For that guy starting out that doesn't have that talent, you're looking at a real diverse group of dogs, all different ages and stages and development. And, so you're doing different things. And so you gotta map it out a little different. If I've got, 45 to 55 dogs in my kennel, I'm not training all those dogs. We've got personnel that's, specifically, put into position to handle this group of dogs. And then they move up to the next group, and then they move up to the next trainer. It just it flows really well, but you have to look at it from both perspectives.
Absolutely. That's a phenomenal point. So when I was at Rhett's working for him, I had one group of dogs. So there was force fetch in the morning and obedience. And then we went out and threw marks for Rhett. And then me and Ricky, he threw birds for me. Shout out to Rick James. That's his name, Rick James. Born on January 1st, New Year's baby. He was 50-something years old, the best guy around. And old Rick James would throw for me and Rhett and clean and help and all that jazz. But I focused on the young dogs and the T pattern and the force fetch and the marking and the in and out of blinds and all the young gun dog, junior hunter level stuff. Rhett was over there doing senior level, teaching dogs to run blinds and master dogs and field trial dogs. So we had different segments going on at different fields and different properties. Now for me, Bob Owens at Lone Duck, I have to do them all. So I've got obedience, I've got force fetch, I've got T pattern, I got master level dogs. And so it's honestly, to be very honest with everybody, it's been very hard for me to manage my time throughout the day of how much does each segment get. On Tuesday, I focus heavily on the big dogs and the young dogs get one session. Then on Wednesday, the young dogs get 3 sessions and the big dogs get 1 session. I'm managing that. I do have help at home in New York where he helps do obedience. He helps throw birds. He helps reload wingers. He helps get dogs ready. But it's a process of fine tuning. And so to answer Brad's question more bluntly, you have to grow with what you're comfortable with. When I left Rhett and came home, 10 dogs was a lot. 10 dogs felt like overwhelming. And then I had 12. And then I had 6. And I'm like, man, 6 is super easy. And then I had 15. I'm like, man, 15 is a lot. And then I had 12. And I'm like, man, 12 is super easy. And then I had 18. And then I'm like, man, 18 is a lot. Oh, and then I had 24. And then when I started incorporating employees and help, 24 didn't seem so bad. And so it's about managing yourself, about managing your time, about managing the dogs, and allowing the quality. And I think Blaine's going to nod to this. Quality in keeping clients and dogs happy is our number one goal. That's what we get paid to do.
Yeah. And so, when you get to the point where you're hiring another trainer, I can't just sit back with my truckload in my field doing my stuff without thinking about, okay, what are they doing over there? What are the dogs looking like? And so there's, a day during each week where I'm going to go out and I'm going to get on four-wheeler and I'm going to throw ducks for the young dogs because I want to watch them. Not because I don't trust or appreciate what anybody else is doing, but I want to see for myself how, what do those dogs do on these marks? How can I help that person be better at what they do? Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for what those dogs are doing. I'm responsible for their path great, and I'm responsible for them being ready for hunting season. So it's there's added pressure to having others working for you.
Yeah. So I think his question is, there isn't a number. It's managing the dogs, making sure that the quality is to the standard of you and the client's expectations of what that dog is going to perform when their time is done. And if 12 is too many for you, then only do 10 and make those 10 great. If 10 is too many, do 5 and get good at doing 5. There is no number. There are some friends of Blaine's and mine that have like 120 dogs in their kennel, but they've got an infrastructure and a business that can sustain that. They've got, employees that are trusted and are managed properly, and they're turning out 120 great dogs is what it is. All right, next question. Hunting dog of the day on Instagram said, how often do you have dogs fail out of your program, and why?
Great question.
It's a hard thing to swallow.
It is a hard question, and it's a hard decision to make. But you've got to be completely 100% honest with every person that you deal with and every dog that comes in. And I have we have this conversation with every single new client and new dog that comes in. We're going to take it month by month and see how the dog's progressing. And if at some point I don't think the dog's going to be able to reach the goal that you have for it, then we're going to have a conversation and we're going to talk about it. And we're not going to drag it on. The worst thing you can do as a dog trainer is to drag that out and not communicate with the owner and not let the owner know that things aren't going well. And so we try to be open and honest and have those tough conversations ahead of time. And typically they appreciate that. They'd rather, you have a talk with them a couple months into the process and say, you know what, little Fido's not doing as well as we'd hoped. We're having some struggles here and there, and we're going to try to work through them, but we've got to make a decision sooner or later. Is the investment worth, what we're going to get out of it at this point? And I would much rather tell someone that, the dog is just not cutting it in what you want it to be. Maybe it's going to be a good hunting dog and a good riding buddy, but it's not going to make a master hunter. It's not going to make a hunt retriever champion. And so let's not invest all this money into something that we're not going to possibly accomplish. So it's a tough decision to have to make and a tough conversation. And everybody wants, their dog to do well, but I'd rather be honest and upfront with someone ahead of time and tell them, look, this is a struggle we're having. And a lot of times they'll say, well, just keep trying, and see what you can get. Or they'll say, well, let's cut it on this one and try again with another one.
Blaine, is there a certain breed of dog where you feel like you run into that more than others?
Not really. I mean, I'm dealing primarily with Boykins and Labs.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Probably 60, 70% of my dogs in the kennel are Boykins, and the rest are Labs. We'll get a golden from time to time. A shout out to Kevin's got a great golden litter on the ground right now, ready for some new owners. But
my man.
We've had a couple good goldens, man, and we've had a couple goldens that just struggled. We had a golden recently, couldn't swim, loved water, but I thought I was going to save that dog's life several times in the pond.
No way.
Swim. I mean, he would puppy paddle and he'd throw a 40-yard mark and it'd take him 12 minutes to get to it because he was so slow because he wasn't moving forward. He just bobbing up and down. So it happens with all breeds. You're going to see a lab that doesn't like a duck from time to time. You're going to see a toller. Bob has dealt with tollers and GSPs and more versatile breeds. I'm pretty picky with what I take in, and we try to take well-bred dogs that I think are going to do the job. But you're going to have, the best breedings at some point. You're going to have a puppy out of the litter that just isn't up to par with the rest of them. And that's just something you have to be honest with the owner, and not try to hide it and not try to think, well, if I just keep doing it, I'm going to fix it. People make that mistake all the time and they just, try to cover over it and just say, yeah, they're doing great. We're getting there. And then the owner comes and gets the dog and it's not what they paid for. And I don't want to be the guy that hands them a dog that's not ready to do what they have paid, a lot of money to do. And this isn't a cheap hobby. And we've got to take into consideration these owners and, they're trusting us to do a good job. And if the dog can't do it, I'm not going to take the responsibility of what the dog can't do. So I'm going to be open right up front and say, hey, this isn't working.
Yeah. I'm not going to beat the dead horse on that. I think he answered that question thoroughly. I think if I had to give the how often do dogs fail the program and why, for my program, for a basic gun dog, it's more rare. I don't have people, I don't have a ton of people saying, hey, I want a master hunter, and their dog can barely pick up a single. That's not as common. For me, it's like, I want a great hunting dog, Well, that's a more reasonable expectation out of an animal. And, you know, Blaine hit the nail on the head of like being open and honest and saying, hey, this is where your dog's doing well. This is where your dog's struggling. This is what we're working on. You know, I'll reach out to you next week and we'll give you an update. Being open, honest is key in any business and anything you do in life. Be honest. That'll go a lot further than covering crap up. The reasons dogs have failed out of my program. If the dog comes and is either aggressive towards me or other dogs, I don't have time for that. I don't have the facility for it. I don't have time for it. So if you're going to, every time I open that kennel door and it's time to go to work and you snarl at me, hey, not worth my time. Go home. So that's a number one. And we usually will address that before the dog comes and ask questions to the owner like, hey, does it get along with people and other dogs and blah, blah, blah. And most times people are honest, but sometimes they aren't. And it is what it is. So I've failed dogs out of my program because they were people or dog aggressive. And then some dogs just don't have it, man. You can, after putting in, I usually tell people, give me a month, I'll at least get formal obedience done. And if the dog doesn't cut it in that month, won't swim. That's not good. That's not good.
Doesn't like a bird.
Yeah. And then like, the general answer of like, oh, we'll force fetch him. Yeah. Well, guess what? Blaine, how many dogs have you force fetched?
A lot.
Same Z. I mean, a ton. And some dogs, even after force fetch, will resent the work, will resent the duck, will resent you. And at the end of the day, the owners don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want to make the dog do it. We want the dog to do it and learn that by complying with us and having fun, they get to do what they love. Go ahead, Blaine.
Yeah, and some dogs need just to grow up and mature. We had a Boykin in, it's been several years back, and a very well-bred female. That dog wouldn't fetch a Krispy Kreme donut if you rolled it out in front of her. She just wasn't going to taste it. And we went through first few months of training and did some things and started some force fetch. And, man, this dog still wouldn't chase a bumper, wouldn't chase a ball, wouldn't chase a donut, wouldn't chase a duck, nothing. And so I called the owner, a nice lady from Tennessee. I said, ma'am, this is what your dog's doing. You have a couple choices. Number one, you can just take the dog home, let her grow up a little bit, and we'll try again later on. Number two, I can put an extreme amount of pressure on the dog and make it do it, and she's not going to have fun. But she'll do it. Or number three, you can just let me play with the dog and treat it like a puppy for a little while, and we'll see what happens. She opted with number three. So I would take the dog with me most days. Some days I'd leave her home. But I'd take her with me, and when I was setting up marks and holding blinds and wingers, I would bring the dog with me on the range, and she'd ride around and just be a puppy. I would get her out, and when we got done, and I would pitch bumpers around and see if she would chase it. Most of the days she wouldn't. I'd ride her around the property just to hang out with her, and nothing. Well, one day, after about a month of doing that, we were finishing up throwing marks, and the bird boy was breaking stuff down, and I got the little dog out, and I was just playing with her, and I tossed the bumper as far as I could throw it. And that dog took off like a rocket ship, went out, picked up the bumper, and brought it back and sat down and held it. And I yelled at my bird boy on the radio. I said, hey, stop right there. Throw a mark for me. He threw a duck, 90, 100 yards away. The dog ran out like a good dog, picked the bird up, came straight back and delivered the hand. I called the woman instantly and said, hey, your dog's fixed. She was like, what are you talking about? A couple months later, we had a season title on her. A couple months after that, we had some finish passes. And so it just took the dog a little time. And I don't know what was going on in the dog's head, but it finally realized that this was fun, and I enjoy doing this, and it worked out. So sometimes it just takes a little time for a dog to mature, and everybody's in a race to get their dogs done quick, whether it be money or just to be able to say, hey, my dog got a finish title or a master title by such and such age. And so people have to realize they're just like kids. They develop at different ages. They get things at different times, and you just have to train the dog you have. You can't put them on a timeline, and you can't rush them.
Nice. Good job. All right, next question. And we've got a bunch from this gentleman. On Instagram, it is called Lost Highway Gun Dogs. I highly suggest everybody follow him. He seems like a super nice guy, and he works dogs. He's another professional dog trainer. But these questions really pertain to me and Blaine and some of the difficult things we have to deal with, and they're poignant questions. Hey, guys, I said poignant. That's a big word for Bob. All right? Poignant questions. All right. From Lost Highway Gun Dogs. When and how do you decide to grow, since it's tough to find good help? Go ahead, Blaine.
Good help is one of the hardest things we have to get. A lot of young guys want to get in the dog training for girls. I've got a young lady working for me. She's 21 years old. And so it's not just a guy sport. But they get going in the business and they think, well, I'm pretty good. I've trained a few dogs now and I'm going to go out in business on my own. So you have to deal with that aspect, that as soon as you start pouring into someone, they're ready to leave and do it on their own. And you've got the aspect of the fact that, we're not paying an entry-level person a whole lot of money. And it's not easy in the summertime when it's 98 degrees in Georgia. It's not easy in the wintertime in New York when it's, just frozen and snowy and cold all the time. And so it's not an easy job, and they're not making a ton of money, and they're just, doing what seem to be menial tasks, and it's not always fun. And so, it's hard to find good help. There's, not a lot of young kids these days that want to bust their butt every day to learn a trade like this, to one day have a career in this kind of business. So it is hard. And so you've got to really value, I think, your employees. If you've got anybody, no matter what they do, and it's hard sometimes, but you have to really, put some value on them, not just monetary, but, in the way you treat them and the encouragement you give them and the jobs you give them, and, make them feel like they're needed, in your business, in your company, because we can't do what we do without all those extra hands involved every day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to answer, so first of all, to find good help, I think Blaine nailed that answer. It is hard to find good help. And the whole first 20 minutes of our podcast was that old lady bitch session of all the hard things that we have to deal with. And those employees have to grind with us, picking up poop, getting up super early, working super late, throwing nasty, maggoty, dead ducks, throwing maggoty, dead ducks away. Just nasty, weird things that why would we have to do what we do? They have to do them along with us. And like Blaine said, first of all, we aren't making a ton of money and they aren't making a ton of money. So you got to love it. If you don't love it and you're just doing it for the money, then it ain't going to work. Now, how do you decide to grow? To me, Blaine, I don't know the answer to that. I think if you can handle one or two more, try it. If your quality is the same, good. If it's not, then back off. If you have to do 5 more to be able to hire that employee and try it out, and after 2 or 3 months it doesn't pan out, then you got to scale back. Like, it's a part of growing a business, whether you're training dogs or a software company or an accounting firm. That's business. You have to be a good business owner, not just a good dog trainer.
Exactly. It's really not about dog training. It's about being smart, counting the cost of what it's going to be to grow. If you add a person, how many dogs do I need to take in for me to still make money and pay this person? Because I'm not going to lose money by hiring somebody. And so what do I have to do to make it worth my while? But it's not just their salary. It's, well, I've added, 12 dogs to the kennel. Now I've got to feed 12 more dogs. Now I've got to house 12 more dogs. Now I've got to have another truck, another trailer, that much, I've got to double the equipment. And so it's not just the cost of, hiring someone to do it, but it's all the other things that come with it. And then there's the quality control. Every day I think about that. I write messages to my guys, the girls working. All right, you need to work on this. You need to fix this. You need to do this. And so, there's a lot of days I get back to the kennel. I think, man, I wish it was just me and my wife with 15 dogs. Would I make as much money? Would I have as much quality time with my family? Would I be able to spend time like today? We worked 12 hours, and I said, look, boys, I've got to go. I've got to teach my son how to drive on 5-speed. So I had to leave the field not because I had to, because I wanted to. I wanted to spend time with my son. But luckily, I've got a young 20-year-old girl who had worked her dogs and did, all of her chores for the day. And then I said, hey, you got to come out here and throw birds for Bob so he can run his dogs so that I can spend time with my son. And so it's about counting the cost of growing, and is it worth it? Do I make more money now with, 50 dogs in my kennel than I did with 20? I don't know. I'd have to sit down and look at it.
I was going to say we should probably know that answer.
Yeah, I mean, I can figure it out pretty quick, but it's is it worth it? I guess that's the better question. Not, am I making more? Yeah, I'm making more, but is it worth it? Is it worth the things that I have to sacrifice in order to keep that going well?
Sure. Good answer. His next question. These next few are going to be from the same guy, Lost Highway Gun Dogs. How do you balance gun dogs while campaigning test and trial dogs?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing all week, because you can't neglect the other dogs in the kennel. If I'm charging $800 a month to train a dog, then, Joe Gun Dog from Louisiana, his $800 is the same money as, Master National Dog from, Texas. It's $800 that they're paying me to train their dog. I can't neglect one for the other. And so we've got to take time. Are there going to be weeks where we spend more time with a certain group of dogs? Absolutely. But then we're going to make it up and spend more time with, a younger set of dogs. I think we spent, like today, for instance, we spent a good deal of time with young dogs today and helping them, learn some new skills and be in some new positions. And it was fun. And it was good for those dogs. But you just got to maintain balance. And make sure that you're keeping, you're doing the right thing for all the dogs. And a day off is not going to kill a dog and hurt their progress. And so you just gotta, it goes back to understanding scheduling and balance and just doing the right thing for every client.
Now, I agree with you, and I have nothing to add. The only thing I will add is, as a trainer, that is one of my stresses. Plain and simple. That, I always feel under the gun. And this is like a personal thing for me. This is like opening up and talking about feelings and being real soft. I always feel like, I wish I did more with this dog that day. Or, I wish I did this with this group of dogs. I always feel under the gun. And so I really understand this question. Yeah, we balance it because we just bust our ass and we get our things done. And you do have to just balance it and figure it out. But the answer is, I've been doing this professionally for 4 years, and I don't think there's been a time in my young career that I haven't felt like I wish I did more. I always feel that. How about you, Blaine?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like to succeed.
Damn right.
I like every dog. I want every dog to pass. If I'm telling an owner to sign their dog for a damn test, I'm 99.9% sure that dog can pass that test. If I'm telling the owner this dog's going to be ready for early teal season, then this dog's going to be ready for early teal season. And so then if you have our kind of work ethic and the kind of work ethic it takes to be successful at this, therein lies the problem. You're going to work and work and work until it's dark. And then you've got to think about, I've got a wife. I've got kids. I've got, other responsibilities outside of my job that I have to take care of. And so it's tough. But yeah, to answer the question, it's every day. It's a question I have in mind. Did this dog get enough attention? Did I, go the extra mile to make sure that I worked that dog in the mutt hut today, so I can make sure the owner was going to be okay when he took that dog hunting?
Yep, no doubt. Now, we sort of answered this question earlier. I do think it's a poignant one. Managing client expectations and possibly breaking bad news.
Yeah, we did talk about that a lot, and it's, they have to be reasonable in their expectations and understand that they're dogs. They don't all progress the same way, and you've got to work through that. And, I love it when it's possible. I had a new client come out today that I've been, his dog has been in my program now for 4 months, and I've never met him before because he was with my other trainer. So he came today and met me because the dog is moving up the ladder, so to speak, and we met. And he watched dogs train for 4 or 5 hours, and he got to see all the different levels, and I was able to tell him, okay, this is what you can expect by an average dog that learns at an average rate, in 6 months, in 8 months, in 2 years. But not all dogs are the same. And so it just goes back to letting them know that, we're going to just go through it as we go through it, and I'll keep you updated and let you know how your dog's progressing.
Yep, I agree. I would say honesty is the best policy. As a business owner and dog trainer, you need to understand their expectations of the dog before they send the dog to you. And then when they say, I want to master a hunter, let's just say that as the example. I want to master a hunter. You don't say, I can do it in 6 months. That's an unrealistic expectation for a young dog or whatever. You can't just throw out pipe dreams. You have to throw out the below average, the average, and then the exceptional. And you have to, throughout the process, engage the owner and keep them updated and show them and have them out and show them the dog and keep them updated on progress. And I think, again, this is business. This isn't dog training. Manage expectations. If I was back in the day, I was a copier salesman. If I sold somebody a household copier, but they expected it to print paper like a magazine, I undersold their expectations. If you give me a dog that you want to master hunter in 4 months and I tell you, hey, I think I can do it, that's an unrealistic expectation, and now you're going to let them down.
Exactly. The first question I ask everybody when they start the conversation about training a dog, I always say, what do you want your dog to be when it grows up? What's your final goal?
Well, I think that's even broad. When you get this dog home, what do you want it to be? Because, they might think that's a 5-year plan. If they want to sign up for the 4-month program, I want to make sure that they understand fully what my 4-month program is going to look like at the end. Does that make sense?
For all the new dog trainers out there, a 4-month program is a bad idea.
Go ahead, explain why.
What are you going to accomplish in 4 months? Unless someone simply wants an obedience trained dog. But you never know. It may take you 3 months to force fetch the dog from start of hold through force to pile or through swim by. And so timelines are a dangerous, dangerous thing to get into with anybody. And so I make it pretty simple. We have a 6-month minimum. I don't want to touch your dog if it's not going to be here for under 6 months. And we tell you that up front. Even if you want a basic gun dog, one that's steady that go picks up ducks and brings them back, not even running blinds yet, I'm going to tell you 6 months. Give me time to train your dog. It may finish what you need it to do in 5 months or in 4 months, but it may take 6 or 7 months. but don't paint yourself into a corner by giving out numbers. How long is it going to take to do this? I think it's a dangerous, slippery slope to climb on, and you just need to avoid that.
Good advice, and I could definitely use that. Not probably, I could definitely use that, because there are dogs who don't fit that mold, and you feel like you're cramming, and then I stress myself out.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what you do. You cram, and what you end up doing is you put too much pressure on the dog because you put too much pressure on yourself to finish in an unrealistic timeline.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. What I expect, I'll just back that up. What I expect out of a 4-month program or a gun dog program, not handling a ready-to-hunt dog, is horse-fetched, formally obedient, collar conditioned, steady, good with birds, and that's it. Generally speaking, 80 to 90% of the time, I can get that done. But there are those 10 to 20 percentiles that don't meet that mold. But here goes back to managing expectations. I need to let them know at month 2, hey, you're behind the 8 ball. Your dog is not where it needs to be. It's not the average. It might take us a little more here, a little more there. Are you okay with that? If not, let's pull your dog now. Honesty, keeping people updated, and knowing what you're capable of is probably a good rule of thumb. Do you agree?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, next question. Work-life balance. He has a new baby. You've got 2 kids of your own. You have a wife. How do you manage that, and is that something you struggle with?
Struggle with it more than anything, because I'm such a driven person, and I want to work and want to do right for my dogs. Unfortunately, sometimes your family takes the back seat. I've got a great situation in that my wife works with me full time. She is part of my team, part of my crew. She's my medical staff. She is my bird girl some days. She is whatever I need her to be every single day by my side, helps me out tremendously. And she's a part of our day-to-day activity that I couldn't do without her. My kids have grown up most of their lives in this routine. They understand it, but it's not just because they understand it doesn't make it right. And sometimes I've got to decide, okay, I'm not going to this hunt test this weekend because such and such is going on in my kid's life. If your clients can't understand that, I don't want to say this, but the fact is I don't want you as a client. If they don't understand that my family comes first, then we're going to have a conversation. And all of mine understand that. We talk about it in front. And I'm not going to do things that's going to jeopardize my family. I'm not going to jeopardize my marriage over a dog. And, that's another conversation that comes up front. I'm not going to talk to you on the phone all day. I'm not going to talk to you on the phone at night when I'm trying to eat dinner or just sit on my recliner with my wife and watch TV. We're going to train your dog. You're going to have to trust that we're going to do what we said we're going to do. And, that comes with, doing it good for years and then trusting you. And, I've got people that have had dogs, 6, 7, 8 dogs, with me over the years. And they know we're going to do what we say we're going to do. But that, you got to manage that and understand what's more important.
This is a topic that hits real home to me, and I probably don't do it well enough. Work-life balance for me is very hard. And again, like Blaine said, it's partially because we're so driven and we expect a lot out of ourselves. And when we look in the mirror at the end of the day, we want to know that we put in everything we have. It's not easy. It's not easy balancing family. And Blaine's got a wife and kids. I have a girlfriend that I love dearly and want to build a future with, but we aren't normal. We aren't home at 5 p.m. and can sit down to dinner and go out to a movie and dinner and, on a Tuesday, every Tuesday. It's not normal. It's not a normal life because what it comes down to is these dogs depend on us. If I don't let them out, they don't get let out. If I don't feed them, they don't get fed. If I don't check them for injuries, they don't get checked for injuries. If I don't do what it takes to keep them safe, happy, healthy, I'm to blame. And those dogs don't have a choice but to be under my care and custody and control, right? Like they are my responsibility and nobody else's. And therefore other people suffer. And I and Blaine and everybody who does this are fully aware of that. And unfortunately, our families hurt because of it sometimes. But at the end of the day, that's partially why we both want to grow, so that we can employ good people who are trustworthy and care for these animals, these other people's family members, so that we can trust that they're doing the right things when we're gone, so that we can spend time with our family and take a vacation and take a Sunday off, or leave at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday and go to dinner. But it's really hard. The work-life balance for me has probably been the hardest thing of anything. The work itself is not hard. The work-life balance is hard.
I want to laugh at Bob because he doesn't, he's not married yet. He doesn't have kids. And so we've got a special guest that just arrived at the living room. My wife and number one bird girl and vet tech and dog transporter and kid wrestler and everything else. It's hard. And, every day there's no normal days. There's something different happening every day. She makes multiple trips to the vets every week, answering calls from clients, billing, invoicing, all the fun stuff. So there's no normal schedule until this person asks, what was that original question that we're answering?
It's work-life balance, and he just had a new baby.
All right. So this gentleman's a new dog trainer, just had a baby, and is talking about work-life balance. What would you say to him about how to balance, a new baby, a wife, and being a dog trainer?
Go ahead, Angela, answer the question. Take the
Angela, my wife.
Your wife is always right.
She's going to hang up.
I gotta really answer it, Angela. Go ahead. This is a hard question that we all deal with. Go ahead, Angela.
Okay, you just have to find a way to make time, even if it's just a little time, and even if you're aggravated at the end of the day because maybe things didn't go the way you wanted it to, you have to push that back down and swallow it and make a little time for happy time for your family, because in the end, that counts too. You want to be successful and do a good job, but if you don't have your family, then, kind of all for nothing, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Angela. I think that's something, again, truthfully, with everybody that's on this, that's something I really struggle with. As quote unquote successful as I want to be and strive to be, and all my big goals that I have in life, if I have no one to share that with in 10 years, is it worth it?
Well, and the woman that knows the best is standing right here. I'm a jackass.
Yeah, well, we all know that, big fella.
And so I want everything to be perfect all day long with every dog. And so when something goes wrong, I lose my cool, I lose my temper, and sometimes it gets, deflected to the wrong people. Maybe it's not their fault. Maybe I didn't explain well enough what I needed. Maybe the dogs just acted like idiots that day. And all I'm thinking about is what is going to happen Saturday at the test when this happens. And there was a reason I wanted to go this way, and we can't control everything. And I have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
You can't blame everybody else. And I say that thinking I'm the worst at this than anybody, but I want my dogs to be perfect. I want things to go well.
Yeah, we'll let that ride. I think that's really in depth. It's really personal for both of us, and I think anybody who does this as a career is going to always struggle with it, because no matter what, those dogs need us, but so do our families. So I don't know the answer. I think I try hard every day.
Don't be a dog trainer, get a 40-hour-a-week factory job and go home and not worry about it.
Yeah, enough said. All right, on a more positive note, J.A. McCarter, favorite resource when you were getting started? Video, DVD, book? What did you rely on when you were getting started?
I had befriended a few trainers and other amateurs that were really good at what they did. I studied them, but I also studied where they got their, where did they learn from? And then I studied the teachers of those guys. And so, predominantly everybody you talk to, it all boils down to Rex Carr. And Rex Carr's, force fetch. He's the one that develops the thing that we do with all of our dogs every single day. There's been, changes and improvements in the methods, but Rex Carr was the originator of everything we do. And there's people that study under Rex Carr, like, you can look at Evan Graham and what he has done with the Smart Work program. I think that's an excellent program for new trainers, amateurs, that is as concise and in-depth as any of them. I tell people that, I don't mind helping someone that wants to train their dog on their own. And if they call me wanting resources, I tell them, follow such and such, DVD or website or Facebook page, but do exactly what they say. Don't come up with your own ideas, your own thoughts. Do exactly what they say, and you can train a good dog. You can follow Smart Work from start to finish. You can follow Lardy's Total Retriever training from start to finish. Do exactly what they do, and you'll have a good dog. Those guys know what they're doing, and do what the pros tell you to do. Find some pros to train with. Like Bob said, there's always people here, every day training with us who just, maybe they need property, maybe they need resources, maybe they need birds, maybe they need advice. But find someone that, will open up their land and their family to you and spend time with them, help them out. Don't be afraid to sit out at a gun station and throw a bird all day. Shoot flyers, do whatever it takes to get out there and work. And find people that want to help you. There's good people in this world all over the country.
Not all flyer shooters are created equal.
Not all flyer transporters are created equal. Just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. So we've been shooting a flyer every day for our Master National dogs for the last couple of weeks. And, flyers are expensive.
Well, to be exact, pheasants are $10.50 here in Georgia.
It's going to be $15, $16, $17, depending on where you get them. So we bought a supply of pheasants, and we went, Tuesday afternoon, bought, 40 more pheasants for the next day. And, I'm doing my kennel duties and all the other things that comes along with the job. And I said, hey, Bob. Bob said, hey, can I help? I said, yeah. Go get the pheasants, put them in a flyer crate, and let's, go. We're going to go train off campus today. And so Bob thought that a certain amount of pheasants in a crate weighed enough that going down I-85 at 70 miles an hour, they would not need to be tied down. I hear you laughing, Kevin. I like it. They would not need to be tied down or ratchet strapped down or whatever, on top of this trailer.
Do you know how many times I've told him this?
And so, we got on the interstate, headed up to the training grounds, and shortly thereafter, I get a phone call from one Bob Owens of Lone Duck Outfitters and Dog Training Kennels that all of our flyers have now been splattered on I-85 from a tractor trailer. And so I don't know how we got onto that. I just thought it'd be fun to tell the Lone Duck Dog Chronicles listener to strap your flyer crate down on your trailers or trucks.
A lot of my career has been built around making mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one I won't do again.
Blaine, I've been driving behind Bob before where we go over train tracks and watch the ducks skip or the box crate from the front of the trailer to the back of the trailer, and I call him and he's like, "Yeah, but it's still on top. We're good. It's fine."
So this has happened before, Kevin. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah. Every day.
All I know is
this is info I needed the last podcast last year.
Remember we were talking about how many dogs you need to train, to pay for an employee or whatever. I was going to train almost an entire dog this month to pay for the flyers that I killed that day.
Well,
it was an expensive life lesson.
It all worked out, and we made do. And
it didn't work out for the pheasants. They were screwed.
Out for me
Not
either.
that particular group of pheasants or that flyer crate. Luckily, that was the first question I asked. Bob, was it my flyer crate or yours? So it was Bob. So that was one high point of the day.
Should I ask how my pigeons fared on the way down?
Let's go to the next question.
Let's go to the next question.
Dang.
All right. Same gentleman. Blaine, what did you do pre-dog training? What was your career before you made the jump?
I have a degree in special education, which maybe is why I'm good with boykins. No, I have an education degree. I have a college degree. I don't know who I was talking to, but sometime in the last couple of weeks, talked to a gentleman and said, most dog trainers are pretty intelligent guys. They're college educated. Maybe in Bob, I talked to. They're college educated guys. Whether that was it was Evan Thames. He's got a biology degree. There's, these dog trainers are smart guys that know.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I have an ology degree as well.
Yeah, an ology.
Sociology.
That's what all the washout rugby players did.
He's had a few concussions. Don't worry about it. We can keep going.
So anyway, my background was in education, and I use a lot of that stuff with my dogs. In special education, you develop a program, an education plan for each individualized student, depending on their, disabilities and their, struggles in learning, and you come up with a plan to better suit their needs. And so we try to do that with our dogs. Every dog has special needs and, a way that they're going to learn better. And it's our job to develop a plan that's going to better each individual dog and keep them on the right track. And there's no cookie cutter plan that's going to work exactly the same for every single dog. And a good, mature dog trainer is going to realize that and know that they're going to have to stretch and do things a little bit different to help a certain dog become successful. And, that's just part of the job. And I think my background in education, especially in special education, has helped in that.
So that's pretty, I think I knew that about you as far as your education degree and what you did pre-dog training. I think I want to double back to a discussion we had earlier on the podcast about some of the challenging things about being a dog trainer. And to the education level and the intelligence that these guys have at the high level. The Stephen Durrances who just won the Super Retriever Series, for instance. You talk to that guy, he is smart. He analyzes. When we're training a dog every day, it's not as simple as have a dog pick up a bird. It's where are we putting that bird when we throw it. It's instantaneous decisions you're making when the dog's running to the bird. Do I make a correction? Do I not make a correction? Should I blow the whistle? Shouldn't I blow the whistle? You're mentally on every time you pull a new dog out. What does this dog need? How am I going to handle this dog? All the different corrections you need to make, all the different body languages. How does this dog handle things? And you're constantly thinking. And so you mentally are tired at the end of the day, not just physically. So, okay, cool. That's something I want to talk about. Now, to answer his question, what did I do before I was a dog trainer? Ooh, what a good question. All right. First job I had out of college, I sold copiers. That sucked to the big one. Definitely don't suggest that to anybody. Second job I had, I sold business insurance, and that is where I developed my entrepreneurial spirit, because I would interview and talk with business owners and realize that they were very similar to who I was. You know, hardworking, had goals. You know, they weren't exceptionally intelligent. They weren't like maybe the Stephen Jobs. You know, that I had this vision that a business owner was a genius. No, they were average to above average people that busted their butt, had a vision, and chased that vision. So that's where I learned that. And then I sold oil and auto supplies. That sucked. The second big one. But actually during that 2-year stint is where Lone Duck grew the biggest, because I was able those poor people. I didn't work very hard for them. Let's be real honest. I did what I had to do. But I was able to answer my phone and develop Lone Duck while I was on the road selling oil filters and oil to car dealerships and jazz, driving a 2002 PT Cruiser. That's real life.
It had a turbo engine, though, didn't it?
It did have a turbo, and I stuck a Lone Duck decal on it, so I was advertising while I was driving on the road. Suckers. Shout out to Superior Lubricants.
Hey, they're not no free advertising. They're not paying for that.
Yeah, exactly. They're not paying for that ad. Well, anyways, they sucked. My next job was for a company called PWF, Phoenix Welding and Fabricating, and that was probably my favorite job I had before training dogs, and I was the head of marketing and sales. Now, when I say I was the head of marketing and sales, it's because I was the only one in marketing and sales. So you can't be number 2 when you're the only one. But it was neat because it was the 2 business owners, the CFO, and myself managing that business, growing that business, making decisions all together as a team. And I learned a lot from it. And I learned a lot from them as business owners. Some of the things they did great, some of the things they didn't do great. How did I want to grow and develop? And they were super nice guys. They were around my age, and I loved it. But then Rhett called me and said, I need a young dog trainer. Would you want to come work for me? And I did. I quit my job. I took Lone Duck and dog training seriously and quit my job and moved to South Carolina from New York. I left my family, my girlfriend, my friends, and chased my dream for 9-10 months. And I was mentored by him and all the dogs that I trained down there. And those dogs taught me a lot. And the experience I had down there was fantastic. So that's what we did. Next question. Do I drink cheap beer because I'm broke or because I love it? Both.
I just get good clients that like to bring me good gifts. We don't have to drink cheap beer or cheap whiskey.
Fair enough, Blaine. I have good clients that bring me Busch Light camo cans. You can suck it. Shout out to Ben and Hunter's owner. He brought me a 30-pack of Busch Light before my road trip. Thanks, buddy.
Maybe that's why my flyers are gone.
Yeah, those Busch Lights didn't make it. They didn't make the trip. No, I drink Busch Light because I choose it and because it's economical. I'm frugal. That's the second big word I dropped on the podcast tonight. All right, Saxton asked if we are coffee or energy drink guys. Go ahead, Blaine.
Coffee between 5 a.m. and about 9, and then half of a red line around 10 or 11. And if you're going to grind till dark, drink the other half around 4 o'clock. And then as Bob has developed a taste for the red line, then it makes a good spoon at 10 o'clock. And so it's, a multifaceted energy drink, but coffee and the energy drink to get you through daylight to dark.
I am 90% just a coffee guy. I drink my coffee black, like I like my black labs. And around lunchtime, I'm done drinking coffee. Now, on the long road trips, I'll do an energy drink, but they usually tear my stomach up, so that's not good for old Uncle Bob. But coffee is the way to go. All right, next question. I can't, how terrible this is? I can't even read my handwriting. So my bad on your name here. But how did we do our ribeyes, Blaine? Give them the tutorial on the ribeye tonight.
Very simple. Keep it simple on the ribeyes. Salt and pepper, garlic powder. Let it sit, get to room temperature. Get your big green egg or your acorn or whatever other Komodo-style grill that you use to 550 degrees. Put the steak on the grill, count to 2 minutes, flip the steak over, count 2 more minutes. At that point, you want to put some melted butter on the steak, close both vents on the top and bottom, and count 3 minutes. Pull these steaks off, and you have a perfect medium rare steak.
I will second the perfect medium rare steak. It was unbelievable dinner tonight. All right. We are going to wrap this podcast up, but before you hit stop, I need you to listen. Kevin had a litter of golden retriever puppies this week. I'm super proud of him. We've got several left. I think we had, 10 puppies, Kev? 6 boys, 4 girls?
Yep, 10 healthy good ones.
And they're growing like weeds, and they are up for sale. So we have a few sold. So if you're interested in bringing on a golden retriever into your home and hunting blind, reach out to us. There's a little form we need you to fill out to learn about your needs, and we'll take good care of you. We'll tell you about the parents and the health clearances and all that. So shoot us a direct message, and we'll get that taken care of. These are not cheap puppies, everybody. So if you're looking for a cheap puppy, this is not it. But if you're looking for a really well-bred, field-bred golden retriever, shoot us a message if you're serious, and we'll help you out. We'd be glad to have one of our dogs. Big shout out to ourselves, Lone Duck Outfitters. We got a website. A lot of you have gone on the website and bought hats and t-shirts. So thank you so much for supporting the podcast and supporting our mission of the unspoken bond. Thank you very much. Big shout out to the pterodactyl, Blaine Tarnecki, and being on our podcast for a second time. I think we brought a lot of knowledge and insight, some harder things to talk about being a dog trainer, the grind. So thank you. I wish all of his dogs success these next few days as we, dive into the Master National and into this 1,100 dog test. We're about a 20% pass rate. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be fun. Stay tuned on Instagram, and we'll keep you updated on everybody's progress. Kevin, thanks for being a part of the show, my friend. I think we had a good one. What do you think, Kev?
I've heard worse ones.
We appreciate your input tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, hey. I like the little side shout out. Pretty cool having Angela on. Surprise guest.
Surprise guest. I do think that was really, really, really cool. She's
absolutely
awesome. She's an awesome woman, and Blaine is super lucky to have her a part of his life and team here at Hudson River Retrievers. And, I think we're all lucky at the end of the day. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Lone Duck's Gun Dog Chronicles. As always, subscribe, hit that 5-star, leave a review. If you didn't like it, go find something else. Hold on, Blaine wants to say something. The pterodactyl.